What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome back to the 32-team 7-round mock draft series, where today we are taking a look at the last pick in the first round. And if you're a fan of a team that doesn't have a first-round pick, those are going to be what rounds up the next couple days of videos of our actual first-round picks. We have at pick 32, your reigning defending Super Bowl champions, once again, the New England Patriots, and they have a lot of draft assets. Will people stop overpaying for these goddamn Patriot free agents so they get huge comp picks? Like, they have a first, a second, a third, a fourth. You're just giving them the ability to reload. Stop overpaying for, like, average offensive linemen. I'm looking at you, Giants and Raiders, for God's sakes. So, the big news coming for the Patriots this offseason has been the retirement of Rob Gronkowski. How are they going to replace Rob Gronkowski? I mean, they did bring in Austin Seferian-Jenkins as a free agent. That's actually a pretty good signing, all things considered. We will have them get a tight end, maybe later than people expect. They could look at bringing another playmaker at wide receiver with the future of Josh Gordon kind of up in the air. Could get younger on the defensive line, more depth, look at upgrades at the linebacking core. There's plenty of spots the Patriots can go, so let's see if we can help them out. So at pick 32, I'm selecting Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle from Clemson. I think he's the most slept-on player in this year's draft class. He's built like a nose tackle, 6'4", 340 pounds. Nose tackles are undervalued, but he also ran a 5.05 40, 36 reps on the bench press, most of the combine for a defensive player. He's Pro Bowl right now. I think he's a Pro Bowl caliber run-stuffing D tackle, like day one. Like, if Vita Vea is going, like, what did he go last year? Like 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, why is Dexter Lawrence getting slept on? Dexter Lawrence is a better player than Vita Vea, even though they're the exact same style. I think someone made a point of that on Twitter, and I was like, yes, I've been thinking this the whole time. I think you have upside as a pass rusher for Dexter Lawrence. He's such a good athlete. It's only a matter of time till you can develop those moves. And I mean, the Patriots are as good as any other team developing players develop, like Dexter Lawrence. He has 3 years of high-level production at Clemson. Yes, he did have the off-the-field issue with the failed drug test, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. Maybe they'll punish him and have him slip down here to the bottom end of the first round, and the Patriot fans are just laughing all the way to the bank. Looking at their roster right now, I think Dexter Lawrence is D-tackle 1. You have Lawrence Guy, Mike Pennell, David Perry, Adam Butler. I mean, there's just some guys. I think Dexter Lawrence comes in, starts at D-tackle day 1, upgrade over what they had last year in Danny Shelton, and once again, Patriots are getting ready to reload and have a dominant defensive line as they try to also replace the production they're losing from Trey Flowers, who went on and got a huge payday, another third-round pick next year for the Patriots when he got paid by the Detroit Lions. Going into the second round, first up at pick 56, I was selecting Calvin Herman, wide receiver from NC State. He had an average combine, so I think that will have him slip out of the first round. But I think in general, he's as safe as a wide receiver prospect in this year's draft class. He's good at everything. Maybe he might not be the master of anything, but he's good at everything. Good hands, good route running, good ball skills. He's a very physical wide receiver. He has proven production the last 2 years at NC State, 150 receptions, thereabouts, 2,100 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. He's a big-bodied wide receiver at 6'3", 215 pounds. I think he's wide receiver 1. Now, when I say wide receiver 1 to most teams, you're thinking, oh my God, getting a wide receiver starter in the second round, that's ridiculous value. But for the Patriots, wide receiver 1 doesn't mean really a whole lot. Let's be completely honest. You're gonna have probably Philip Dorsett on the outside. You know, there's some upside there that you can finally turn him around. Former first-round pick for the Colts out of Miami. Julian Edelman's always going to be their starting slot wide receiver, but, you know, Dorsett's not that big. Julian Edelman's a slot. You look at the rest of their depth. I mean, right now, there's not much there. Like, if you look really beyond Philip Dorsett and Julian Edelman, you kind of hope maybe Braxton Berrios can continue to develop and maybe be the successor to Julian Edelman, but you don't have that size on the outside. Like, you know, with the future and all the big question marks surrounding Josh Gordon, because he is that guy, you currently don't have that on the roster. So a guy like Calvin Herman brings the dimension that he currently don't have at the wide receiver core, and he is so safe right now. He's going to start. He's going to start right away. He has everything that he can do to handle the Patriots playbook, and I think that they are getting a really nice value pick at pick 56 for a guy that, if this actually happens, I would probably try to draft him in your fantasy football leagues. Going to their second round pick at pick 64, I'm selecting Christian Miller, edge from Alabama. He is a great pass rusher for his versatility. He's a perfect Patriot pick. He can play outside linebacker in a 3-4. He can play 4-3, undersized defensive end. He can drop back into coverage, which is a big-time asset. Like I said, he's a perfect, for me, Dante Hightower replacement. Dante Hightower is, they've had some contract stuff going on. He's getting out there in age a little bit. He's going to be, 29, 30 by the end of next year. Not saying that he's the replacement now, but a potential replacement. Right now it'd be a healthy rotation. I don't really think they have another guy that can do what Hightower does on the roster. Kyle Van Noy to an extent, but I usually like to have both those guys on the field at the same time. So I think a guy like Christian Miller can be developed to be a potential replacement. Also can get involved at defensive end. They brought in Michael Bennett, but beyond that, they just have a bunch of guys at this point. Dietrich Wise, 4th-round pick in 2017. They brought in John Simon, who came over from the Colts. You got Derek Rivers, 3rd-round pick in 2017. I think, where's he from? Like Youngstown State and stuff like that. There's just a bunch of developmental guys. A guy like Christian Miller, because he could also play a little bit of linebacker, but you also throw him right into the mix at defensive end to start working his way on. You know, Belichick loves his Alabama players because they're well coached and they fit his scheme, and I think a guy like Christian Miller fits that to a T. Going to the 3rd round at pick 73, first up, Island selecting Blake Cashman, inside linebacker from Minnesota. He had a huge combine, running a 4.50 and pretty much was top 5 in like every other drill. Coming off a big year, he had 104 tackles, 15 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, 5 pass breakups. He is elite sideline to sideline ability, jack of all trades. He can do everything. He is a very well-rounded linebacker, and unfortunately, these guys usually slip way further in like around 5, 6, 7, and that's usually the team like the Patriots picks him up and develops him. But because of his big combine, he is going to get a lot more recognition and go earlier than some people expect. He can cover tight ends and running backs. He can play pretty much all linebacking positions, I think, for the New England Patriots, even though, that Hightower, you want the guy to be able to rush the passer role. It might not be his strong suit, but I think right now when you look at the inside, guys that are the clear inside linebackers, Landon Roberts, Jawan Bentley, Calvin Munson, Christian Sam on this roster, I think a guy like Blake Cashman has as high of a ceiling as any of those guys. I mean, Roberts is all right. Jawan Bentley has showed flashes that he could be the next long-term starter there, but hasn't been able to have that consistent level to really confirm that optimism. So I think right now they continue just to keep building and adding depth at linebacking core and trying to strengthen that unit. And it all starts in the 3rd round with a very intriguing, great athlete, solid base type linebacker in Blake Cashman. Going to the 2nd, 3rd-round pick at 97, I'm selecting Imani Hooker, safety from Iowa. He's a zone cover safety who absolutely loves to tackle, had some money backer reps at Iowa, really good combine, 4.48 in the 40, 4.10 shuttle. Had a big year last year for Iowa, 65 tackles, 3.5 TFLs, 4 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. And I think for a utility player that can play all over the Patriots defense and a position that I think they need to get younger at. Right now, they're starting safeties. You have Devin McCourty, who's getting out there in age a little bit. Patrick Chung, got him. I think they brought him back on a 1-year deal, getting out there in age a little bit. Deron Harmon's been their top depth forever, and he's actually starting to get a little bit older. You look at the depth beyond that. You brought in Obi Melifonwu, that's an absolute flyer. You have Duke Dawson, who's more of a nickel, but he can play a little bit of safety. Terrence Brooks had some pretty good football for the Eagles, went to the Jets, was all right. But in reality, they don't have that potential successor already on that roster to either one. I think a guy like Hooker can play free or strong. So, get him on the roster. Start getting younger. Start forward thinking, which is what the Patriots usually tend to do. And a guy like Hooker still there at pick 97 makes a lot of sense. Plus, as a rookie, he'll be your top depth. You get some special teams ability, and you'll be able to get creative and play him all over the field. Going to their last 3rd-round pick at 101, I'm selecting Kahale Warring, tight end from San Diego State. He's a converted basketball player and would be obviously drafted and viewed upon as Gronk's replacement. He's as well-rounded of a tight end outside of the 1st round, so excluding, the Irv Smith, Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson. He's as complete and well-rounded as a tight end as you're going to get. Sky is the limit for his development. He has good hands, good route running. He's a good athlete, a willing blocker. And with the signing of Austin Seferian-Jenkins, he won't be rushed right away. This is not going to be a pick that is going to have that pressure of like, this is our next Gronk, because you have a guy like Seferian-Jenkins who, let's be completely honest, when he was coming out of Washington, he was like as hyped of a tight end prospect as there's been in a very long time. So there is still a chance that the Patriots develop Austin Seferian-Jenkins and let him reach his full potential. And he could be the next Gronk. But getting a guy like Warring that has such a high ceiling and is already so good for having maybe as limited of a tight end resume, because he just started playing, I think, 1 year in high school, as any other top tight end prospect in this year's draft class, because the sky is the limit. He could be tight end 2, learn and develop, won't be rushed because of the Seferian-Jenkins signing. But in terms of his upside, you need a guy that could potentially, chip in to that void that's left by Gronkowski, because I don't think there's ever going to be another Gronk. A guy like Warring in the 3rd round is really good value. You're not overreaching, and give me him. I guess Dawson Knox is a popular pick, but Warring is a little bit more safer in my opinion. Going into the 4th round At pick 134, I'm selecting Will Grier, quarterback from West Virginia. This is great value considering it's a weak quarterback class. So to get a guy that's kind of in that mix for, out of all these guys, we don't really know who necessarily could have the best career when all is said and done. I think at the bottom of that list, that is including, Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins. I think Will Grier makes that cut. So in the 4th round for the Patriots, that is really good value considering there's going to be players that could have worse careers that are going in the 1st and 2nd round. Will Grier can be groomed as Tom Brady's heir. His strength of his game is his quick rhythm throws, which is literally what you have to be good at this point. That is what Tom Brady does better than anybody in the National Football League. These very quick rhythm throws to the slot, intermediate passes, and that's what Will Grier's strength is. And while he has some refinement that needs to get done on his technique, his throwing motion, his pocket presence, those are all things that are going to be able to develop under Josh McDaniels and with having Tom Brady around. Because right now, the Patriots definitely should start thinking about getting the heir to Tom Brady. It's not going to be Brian Hoyer. It's not going to be Danny Etling. So I think in the 4th round, getting a guy of Will Grier's caliber, that's going to be great. That's a great pickup here for the New England Patriots. And worst case scenario, if Brady keeps playing till he's 90, I mean, Will Grier could emerge to be like their next Jimmy Garoppolo or, what's his name? Jacoby Brissett. Like just all these players they end up trading and flipping for picks. That could be Will Grier if in like 2 years' time, Brady's still going strong, which we all hope, if you're not a Patriot fan, is not the case. But I mean, and you get uber production from Will Grier. Last 2 years at West Virginia, since he had made the transfer from Florida because he had some off the field, did some steroids. He had 7,300 passing yards, 71 touchdowns to 20 picks. So you have the production, you have the scheme fit. What else do you want if you want a potential heir to Tom Brady? Getting in the 4th round, you're not overpaying, and you're getting really nice value. Going into the 6th round at pick 205, I'm selecting Cam Smith, inside linebacker from USC. It's a value pickup versus really a needs because the Patriots, do they really need another linebacker at this point? No, but could they have more competition? Absolutely. And while Cam Smith might not be as perfect of a fit at this point, in the 6th round, getting a guy that's as prototypical of a Patriot player, why not? He's had a better than expected combine, running a 4.69, 39-inch vertical, 4.23 shuttle. He's a high IQ linebacker with great tackling ability. I look at the roster right now, even with Blake Cashman, he's still linebacker 5 or 6 on the roster. Patriots usually like to carry, 6, 7 linebackers. I think, he's better depth, more competition, and a lot of upside. So at this point in time, I'm just trying to look at where the Patriots don't really have bona fide starters. And I look at that interior of that linebacking core: Landon Roberts, Jawan Bentley, Calvin Munson, Christian Sam. You swap out some of those guys for a uber athletic sideline to sideline linebacker like Blake Cashman. You get a more perfect fit type linebacker like Cam Smith that has a lot of upside. My God, he was like one of the best true freshman linebackers I've seen in quite some time from USC. And yes, it was a couple years ago, but the development still can be had there. And you're going to get some special teams ability. I just think it's a really nice fit here for the Patriots while not being a glaring need. When you have this many picks, as many picks as the Patriot has, this is a luxury that you get. Going into the 7th round, all right, at pick 239, we have Jake Gervase, safety from Iowa. Who? Well, he had an insane, absolutely insane pro day. At 6'2", 210 pounds, ran a 4.48, and this was not, I had to verify this. I had to look around. I was able to find 3 or 4 different sources. A 3.89 short shuttle, which is ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen something that fast in my life. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to find what the record is. It got to be pretty damn close there. So the fact that he has that kind of athletic ability, those kind of twitchy moves at 6'2", 210, and you throw in production from Iowa, 2-year starter. 140, actually I think it was a 3-year starter, but the last 2 years for this reference, 140 tackles, 7 interceptions, 12 pass breakups. Like, he is one of my absolute sleepers of this year's draft class, without a doubt. I think right now he competes for safety 4 on the roster. Right now you have Chung, Devin McCourty. Beyond that, I mean, it's open. We're going to go by the fact that we're going to consider Duke Dawson a nickel corner. You're going to throw in Imani Hooker in the 3rd round, so that's safety 3. And then safety 4, it's going to be up for grabs, probably Daron Harmon. Then you throw in a guy like Gervase, could be a cheaper option, cheaper alternative, but you're going to get some special team ability. Patriots usually like to carry, 4, 5, 6 safeties on their roster. So I think a guy like Gervase is going to be a very nice budget option that's going to give you some special teams ability and can potentially be groomed to be an eventual starter. And, they're showing flyers. If they brought in Obi Melifonwu, they definitely are intrigued by uber athletes at the safety position, and that is Jake Gervase to a T. Going into the next 7th round pick at 243, I'm selecting David Sills, the 5th wide receiver from West Virginia. He was a touchdown machine at West Virginia. In the last 2 years, he had 120 receptions, 1,900 yards, and 33 touchdowns. One of the best deep ball wide receivers in this year's draft class. Not necessarily because of his speed, like not in the same breath as like a, Hollywood Brown, Deebo Samuel, but in terms of just being able to do the over-the-shoulder catch, contested ball ability, it is very, very high. And I was surprised that he was still, when I was doing my mock draft, he was still here in the 7th round. Maybe that's unrealistic, but for the sake of this video, it is tremendous value for the New England Patriots. And kind of in the same light that we talked about Calvin Herman, way up in the 2nd round, they don't really have that big-bodied outside wide receiver. Even if you bring in Calvin Herman, you definitely want more, and you can't be relying on Josh Gordon because there's just such a big question mark. So a guy like David Sills is your typical all-great white wide receiver to the Patriots, but he adds a dimension that they don't have right now on the outside. He's not your typical small slot style wide receiver. They already have that depth, I think, in Braxton Berrios. So a guy like David Sills on the outside, good route runner, should be able to pick up the Patriots offense fairly quickly, is an exceptional value for New England in the 7th round. And then their final pick in the draft at 246, Ireland selecting Jonathan Ledbetter, defensive end from Georgia. He's a safe multiple front defensive end. He's technically sound. I think he should challenge to land on the final 53. Worst case scenario, you throw him on the practice squad. But looking at their outside defensive ends right now, Michael Bennett, Dietrich Weiss, John Simon, Derek Rivers. Okay, but then beyond that, you still need more depth. Right now, they have Keontae Davis, Ufumba Kalamu, Trent Harris. Like, who are these guys? A guy like Jonathan Ledbetter, safe prospect, can play, if you go to a 3-4 front, you can play 3-4 defensive end. You go 4-3, you can kind of play inside, outside. That versatility is key, and those are the kind of guys that can surprise a fan and say, who is this guy? It ends up making the final 53 because of that versatility, and I think that is versatility that Bill Belichick wants. Like, I feel like when Bill Belichick makes a scouting report for a defensive player, like, versatility needs to be like one of the first boxes that he can be able to check, and you will be able to get that in Jonathan Ledbetter, who needs to develop as a pass rusher, but versus the run is very technically sound already. So there you go, guys. That is the 7th-round mock draft for the New England Patriots, rounding out the 1st-round picks. If you are a Patriots fan, let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with some of the picks we saw here today. As always, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, if you're a fan of a team that didn't have a 1st-round pick, we'll be hitting you guys up in the next couple days. Thanks for watching. Peace out.